All right, welcome to another session of Math with Luna on solving two-step equations. So let's get into it. First example, Andrew rents bowling shoes for $4. He bowls 2 games. Andrew spent a total of $22. How much was the cost of each game, representing the variable b? So there's a couple of pieces of information that was given to us. We know that to rent shoes costs $4. We also know that he bowled 2 games and that he spent a total of $22. But the question is asking us how much does it cost for each game. So I'm going to need to be able to write an equation with the information that was given to us. We also gave us that we want to use the variable b to represent the cost of each game. So we have 2 games with the cost of b. So that's going to be an expression represented as 2b. 2 represents the number of games, and then b represents the cost of 1 game, but 2b is going to represent the total cost of both games. But we have an additional cost of $4 as well for the shoes. So I'm going to add $4 to the cost to the 2 games. But I also know that it equals $22. So here is my equation. I have my variable term of 2b, I have my constant term of 4, and then I have the total of what it equals. Now, when we were solving equations, we need to make sure that we were using inverse operations because our objective is to solve for b. So we have to get that by itself somehow. To do that, I need to use inverse operations. So I can't do anything to the 2b yet because I have this plus 4 attached to it. So I need to get rid of this plus 4 by eliminating it by equaling it 0. So I'm going to subtract 4 on one side. Whatever you do to one side, you must do it to the other side as well. It must be balanced. So 4 subtract 4, those are opposites, so that equals 0. (22) subtract 4 equals 18. So now, since this equals 0, this can just be taken out. And all I'm left with is 2b equals 18. Now the 18 represents the cost of both games. So this, we need to use our inverse operations again. So the inverse operation of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. 2 divided by 2, that equals 1. So all I have left over here is b. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So the cost of each game is $9. So there's the first example. That's just using 2 steps. The first step was I had to subtract 4 on both sides, and the second step was I had to divide by 2 on both sides, and that gave me my final answer. So let's move on to the second example. This is new material, so I suggest you watch these videos so you can see the process of how to solve these. Okay, so here is the first, this is the second example now. So here it says, John has $21.61 on a gift card that can be purchased to use online music. So let's write that down. He has $21.61 on a gift card. Each song download costs $1.29. So we know that each song costs $1. $1.29. John wants to maintain a $10 balance to purchase a new album that releases next month. How many songs can John purchase? So we're given some key information. He wants at least $10 left on the gift card. It has $21.61 on it. We know that each song costs $1.29, but he wants to make sure that there's $10 left on the card. So we're going to be able to write and solve a two-step equation, and we're going to use the variable D to represent the number of songs purchased. So let's figure out how we can determine how he's going to have $10 left on his card. So we know that his balance is $21.60. So I'm going to write that first. I have $21.61. But he's going to have to subtract the cost of each song, which was $1.29. But we don't know how many number of songs he gets to purchase, so we're going to use the variable D. So here is half of our equation. So this is an expression, but when it's an equation, it has an equal sign. And we want it to equal $10 because that's how much you want to have left on the card. So let's rewrite it down here. I have $21.61, subtract the $1.29 multiplied by D, and we want to make sure there's $10 left, so we're going to make that equal $10. This represents the total cost of songs. And this represents the starting balance. We started with $21.61, but we're going to have to subtract, because he's spending money, subtracting the cost of the total number of songs that he buys. So now that we have our two-step equation set up, we're going to use our inverse operations. So the first thing I need to do is I need to get rid of the $21.61 because that is attached. It's an additional amount to our expression. So I'm going to subtract $21.61. And when I do that, since these are opposites, that equals 0. But I need to make sure I do that on both sides. So now I have $10 subtract $21.61. I'm going to add my zeros next to my 10 to make sure I have the same place values. This equals 0. And positive 10 subtract $21.61 equals negative 11.61. It's negative because negative 21 has a larger magnitude. It's farther from 0. And then since it's a negative sign, it's going to be negative. So now since this equals 0, I can rewrite my equation to where it says negative $1.29 multiplied by D, again, D represents the number of songs, equals negative $11.61. I'm not quite done yet. I did my first step, which was subtraction. That was my first step. My second step is going to be my division. I need to make this equal 1, so I'm going to divide by the same amount. a negative divided by a negative is a positive, but if it's the same value, that's the identity property. When you divide a number by itself, it stays the same amount. So now all I have left over here is D, which is the cost, which is the number of songs. So negative $11.61 divided by negative $1.29 is going to give me 9. It's positive 9 because if we go back to our division rules for negatives, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So D equals 9. So that means he downloaded 9 songs. So again, the first step was subtraction, and then the second step was division. Let's look at one more. All right, example 3. Example 3, the number of trumpet players is 2 more than 1/4 of the entire band. How many students are in the band? All right, so there's a couple pieces of information that was given to us. We know that there are 2 more than 1/4 of the entire band. We don't know how many people are in the band, so we're going to use B to represent the number of band members. We also know that there are 2 more than 1/4 of the entire band. So if we know that B represents our band, we can use the expression 1/4 multiplied by B to represent the number of 1/4 of the band. But we know that the trumpet players is 2 more than that, so I'm going to add 2 to that amount. So 1/4 of the band plus 2 represents how many trumpet players there are. There's another piece of information. It says 18 students play the trumpet in the band. So there's 18 trumpet players. But we're trying to solve how many band members there are. So let's get into this. We have our variable term, our constant term, and our total amount. So the first step we're going to need to do is we need to get rid of the positive 2. To get rid of the positive 2, I need to subtract 2 on both sides. That equals 0. 18 subtract 2 gives me 16. So I'm going to rewrite my new equation, and all I have left with is 1/4 B equals 16. So we have a fraction, but it's the same step. We're still going to use the same step of division, okay, because the inverse operation of multiplication is division. So I need to divide by 1/4 on both sides. Divide by 1/4. 1/4 divided by 1/4 equals 1, so that cancels out. 16 divided by 1/4. So if we go all the way back to topic 1 for our integers unit, we talked about how dividing is the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 1/4 is actually 4. So to change, dividing 16 by 1/4 is the same thing as saying 16 multiplied by the inverse of 1/4, which is 4/1. Sorry, not inverse, reciprocal. 1/4 and 4/1 are reciprocals. divided by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So now I just have 16 multiplied by 4, because 4 over 1 just equals 4. So 16 multiplied by 4 equals 64. So there's a total of 64 band members.